गिरिवरधारी जय। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय। जय विष्णुपाद प्रमम सप्रे भजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। स्कॉन पंडराचार्य सेव द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु शील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री निताय गौरंग की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. Text number 21. Vidyate hridaya granthi चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे विद्यते हृदय ग्रंथि चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। विद्यते pierced, hridaya heart, grantihi knots, chidyante cut to pieces, sarva all, samshayaha misgivings, kshiyante terminated, cha and asya his, karmani chain of fruitive actions, drishte having seen, eva certainly, atmani unto the self, ishvare dominating. Translation purport by His Divine Grace C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Please repeat the translation. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Purport. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being is as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self, and empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of the living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one but quantitatively different. There are many other theories, but all these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialistic speculations about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as the Krishna sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. In Bhagavad-gita 10.11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. Therefore, because of the personality of Godhead's taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in his service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything of the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee cannot remain in darkness. And because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead, his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case for those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge, coming down from the authority to the submissive oral receiver who is bona fide by service and surrender. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of the whole. a spark subjected to the control of illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma, and from Brahma to his sons and disciples in succession. This process is held by the supersoul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. This enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is united by the Lord. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. The sense of bhakti and the purpose. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse is spoken by Suta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. So in this second chapter, Suta Goswami is answering to the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. So in the earlier chapter, the sages of Naimisharanya, they had asked him 6 questions. So Suta Goswami is replying to their questions. So Suta Goswami was Suta Goswami had heard the Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. When Shukadev Goswami had spoken the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, so in the assembly of very great personalities, great personalities all over the world had come to hear from Shukadev Goswami speaking the Bhagavatam. So in that assembly, even Suta Goswami was present. So now Suta Goswami is speaking Bhagavatam to the sages who had assembled at Naimisharanya. Shri Krishna Malam ki jai, Nitai Guru ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the sages who had assembled at Naimisharanya, they had assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. Because they knew that after Lord Krishna had departed to his abode, the Kali Yuga had begun. And they knew what is the nature of people in Kali Yuga. The people of Kali Yuga is mentioned in the previous chapter, that they have very short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So the sages had assembled to perform a 1,000-year sacrifice of chanting, of hearing and chanting about Lord Krishna. So they had asked Suta Goswami some questions. And Suta Goswami, after hearing their questions, he was very satisfied because they had asked him perfect questions. So Suta Goswami said that I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that the real questions and answers should be pertaining to Lord Krishna. Generally, everyone, like the whole world is making questions and answers. And everyone is busy with these questions and answers. Not only human beings, even the other living entities. They're all busy with questions and answers. But all these questions and answers actually do not give them real satisfaction. So how the real satisfaction can come? The real satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Because Krishna is our intimate master, friend, father or son, and object of conjugal love. So because we have forgotten Krishna, we have created so many objects of questions and answers. So we cannot get complete satisfaction. Because everything in this material world is temporary. So if we want complete satisfaction, unending satisfaction, we must take to the questions of Krishna. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the literature which is pertaining to the topics of Krishna. So the Bhagavatam is the supreme transcendental literature, and exclusively it talks about the topics of Krishna. So when we read Srimad-Bhagavatam, we can get complete satisfaction. What is the real dharma of all humanity? The supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service of the Lord. And such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So Suta Goswami is describing about what are the effects of rendering devotional service. So first he says that by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from this world. And then he says, the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. And then he says, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So simply by serving the devotees of Krishna, one becomes free from all vice. Vice means all bad qualities or bad habits. And great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So just like, for example, in the Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was engaged, he was born as a son of a maid servant. And he, by Krishna's arrangement, he came in touch with some Bhagavatas, some pure devotees of Krishna. So they were staying in the in a place during the rainy season, and at that time, Narada Muni, he was a small boy, and his mother, they got an opportunity to serve the pure devotees of Krishna. This menial service they did. And Narad Muni used to hear when these devotees were speaking about Krishna. So Narad Muni, he got a chance to hear from them. And so by serving these devotees and by hearing from them, he got an affinity to hear about Krishna. And he also took the remnants of their prasadam. So by this simple menial service to the pure devotees, elevated him to become such an exalted devotee in his next life. So that's a result of engaging in the service of the devotees, pure devotees. And then he says, as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So by engaging in the devotion service of Krishna, the nature's modes of passion and ignorance, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, automatically disappear from the heart. With all these hankerings like lust, greed, all these things are automatically disappearing from the heart. And the devotee is established in goodness, the mode of goodness. So the mode of goodness is the best platform for understanding about spiritual knowledge. To understand about Krishna, we have to be at least in the mode of goodness. So when we are situated in the devotional service, when we engage in devotional service of the Lord, actually we transcend all the three modes. And we come on the we come to the spiritual platform. Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Na sochati na kangshati. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita. When one is situated on the Brahman platform, he becomes completely joyful and there is no more hankering and lamentation. So that's a result of coming in the Brahman platform. And in that state only he can engage in the pure devotional service of Krishna. A devotee of Krishna is what are the qualifications of a devotee of Krishna? A devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Therefore, he harms no one. But the non-devotee, however educated he may be, he is always harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord. However, they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotees are one and the same. And then he says, when the person who engages in the loving service of the Lord, he is established in the mode of unalloyed goodness. His mind is enlivened by contact with devotional service, gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. And thus, when he gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead, what is the result? Is that thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. So there are different kinds of persons. Like there are 4 main classifications of persons. One are the karmis, one are the yogis, one are the jnanis, and one are the devotees. So you can classify 4 types of persons. So the karmis means they are desiring to enjoy the result of their work. That is called fruitive workers. The karmis are completely ignorant of their real self. So basically, they don't believe in the spirit soul. Like they don't believe that the living entity has a spirit soul and he transmigrates in the next life into another body. So they don't believe in this fact. So that's why they are busy with sense gratification. So their sole objective of life is to enjoy their senses and give satisfaction to the body. Then the next person is the jnani. Jnani means he is seeking knowledge and he has realized that this bodily satisfaction is not going to give me real satisfaction. So he wants to find out the truth. So he's seeking knowledge, but the process of his seeking knowledge is by speculation, mental speculation. And he doesn't believe in the individual spirit soul. And there is a super soul. So for him, everything is one spirit soul, which is called Brahman. So he thinks that the ultimate goal is to merge with the Supreme Brahman. So there is no individuality. So because of his speculative tendency, he cannot understand the absolute truth. And then there is the yogis. The yogis, they realize the Paramatma feature of the Lord by the process of meditation. And also they desire yogic perfections, like material perfections, some siddhis. So the Jnanis realize the Brahman feature of the Lord, and the yogis realize the Paramatma feature of the Lord. But the complete realization is achieved only by the devotees, bhaktas, realizing the personal feature of the absolute truth, Bhagavan. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. So because the devotees are the qualification of the devotee is that he is submissive to the authority, and in that way only can we receive the transcendental knowledge. We cannot understand the absolute truth in a challenging spirit. So, just like Krishna also says in Bhagavad-gita, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. When we submissively inquire from the spiritual master and render service unto him, then only the realized souls will impart this knowledge unto us. So that is the process of how to approach the spiritual authorities. So because the devotees, because the devotees have faith in the spiritual master and the Vedic literatures, and because they are receiving this knowledge in a parampara or disciplic succession, Lord Krishna, who is seated in everyone's heart as a Paramatma, reveals this knowledge to such a sincere soul. Because Lord Krishna is seated in everyone's heart as a Paramatma, and especially when he understands that a living entity is eager to hear about him. So it's been explained in one of the previous verses that when a person has developed the urge to hear his messages. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who's seated in everyone's heart. He cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee. So Krishna, who is seated in everyone's heart as a super soul, Paramatma, actually he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment. So that is the way, actually, by engaging in devotional service of Krishna, we become free from all material desires or material designations. So material enjoyment is very, very difficult to give up. Even for the very, very great yogis and tapasvis. So only the devotees can very easily and quickly give up the desire to enjoy matter. Because Krishna is seated in everyone's heart. Krishna is seated in their heart and he purifies them with knowledge and detachment. So just by engaging in devotional service, beginning by hearing about Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, so like 9 processes of bhakti. So it is very important that we regularly hear about Krishna from Bhagavatam. So by hearing every day, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. All the dirty things that are there in the heart are cleansed by regular attendance and classes on Bhagavatam. That's why we have Bhagavatam class every day. So by every day hearing Bhagavatam, so the loving service is established as an irrevocable fact. Means the devotee is fixed in Krishna consciousness. He cannot deviate from the path. And in this verse it is said that the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. So the knot in the heart, so Prabhupada explains that knot in the heart is actually the ahankara. Ahankara means false ego. So the false ego actually disappears when one engages in the loving service of Krishna. Because he becomes free from all material association when he is fixed in Krishna consciousness. So he no more identifies with his body. He realizes his real identity as part and parcel of Krishna, an eternal servant of Krishna. Because that is our real identity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, what is the real identity of the spirit soul? Jivera Swarup hai Nitera Krishna Das. The living entity is actually an eternal servant of Krishna. But because of misidentification with his body, he is trying to enjoy this body in different designations, in different lives. life after life, we are changing we're getting a new body, and we accept that body as a self. So this is happening life after life. So only when we come in touch with a pure devotee of Krishna and hear from him submissively with full faith, then we can understand Krishna in truth. The science of Krishna is revealed within a person's heart. One who has unflinching faith in the spiritual master and Krishna. So all the Vedic conclusions are revealed to him. And when he realizes his real identity, then no more he will engage in the fruitive actions. That fruitive tendency to enjoy material world, sense gratification. So no more he will be desiring to run after material enjoyment, because he has realized his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna. And therefore, he engages in the loving service of Krishna. And that actually brings him the real satisfaction, complete satisfaction. So only when we engage in the loving service of Krishna, then only we can become completely happy and satisfied. That is the real secret of happiness. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions? Yes. Sorry? How to get rid of 3 gunas. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita, Daivi hi esha guna mai mama maya duratyaya mam evaya prapadyante maya metam tarintite. This divine energy, which is the 3 gunas, 3 modes of nature, is very difficult to overcome. But Krishna says, one who has surrendered unto me can easily cross over this divine energy, the Maya. Mama Maya Duratya. Because this Maya is Krishna's energy only. So when one surrenders to Krishna, Krishna releases that influence of Maya on that living entity, on that Jiva. So that is the only solution to get out of the 3 modes of nature. And the simple process in Kali Yuga is by simply chanting Hare Krishna mantra, chanting and hearing. Very, very easily we can come out of this 3 modes. And of course, engaging in practical service of Krishna also. So the more we engage in Krishna's service, the more we become free from the 3 gunas. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.